It is exactly 17 after 9 o'clock, and next we have project manager at the Center for Mediation in Africa at the University of Pretoria. She is Dr. Quraysha Ismail Sooliman, to talk to us about the recent violence being a very cruel reminder for many South African Indians of the 1949 anti-Indian riots in KZN. She's written a comment piece in the Mail and Guardian. Let's talk to her about this matter, which obviously is a very, very sore point in what is already a very fragile situation right now in the country. Assalamu alaikum, Quraysha. Welcome to the program.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Thank you, Julie.
Nice to be speaking with you. Long time no see. And worrying times indeed, very especially since we've had all of these riots. There's lots of speculation, lots of different theories about who, what, where, why, and when. But we know that a senior political figure has also sent out a video, a podcast about the Indians, demonize the Indians, and is trying to cause this deep, deep, deep racial divide amongst Indians and Africans. And the situation in Phoenix hasn't helped whatsoever.
So, Julie, we need to recognize right at the start that South Africa is a very fragile society. There's deep fault lines, and we haven't healed from our very tragic and painful past. I mean, apartheid, and before that, colonialism, and we're still in a state of coloniality. We're not post-apartheid, we're neo-apartheid, so we're still experiencing and encountering all of these divisions that have, intentionally been imposed upon the people. It's simply even in the way in which we identify ourselves as Black, Indian, colored, and white. These are imposed understandings and identities that originally should not be there because we're all human. So if you look at South Africa and you look at these deep structural divisions that are and inequalities that are in the society, they have been, firstly, we must recognize that they have been created. People have been impoverished as a result of a very particular system, and that system is white supremacy. Now, sadly, what we find happening in KZN, and if you go back to the 1949 pogroms, you will see that although the Black people were instigated to perpetuate violence against Indian people, and the trigger, of course, was that particular incident of the shopkeeper assaulting the Black youth. The thing is that the masterminds behind that were white women, colonial women, who orchestrated this and encouraged the Blacks to then attack the Indians. Today, we find that, again, this antagonism and this tension that is being felt in KwaZulu-Natal, and strangely enough, it's, again, largely concentrated in KwaZulu-Natal, and there is a sinister mind and an instigation behind it, again, for a particular reason. And again, it's for economic gain. Just as the colonial woman instigated the Zulus at that time, it was for economic gain. This time, again, it's for economic gain. But through political expediency, and that is exactly as you say, certain political figures putting out or inciting violence constantly through the images that they send, the messages that they're putting through. And so don't underestimate social media, radio, etc., because we see how it functioned in Rwanda, and it exacerbated and actually fueled the genocide. So these things should not be taken lightly. But what we do know is, and we're very fortunate that now there are very many people, South Africans, that are maturing, that are standing up, that are recognizing that they are being used. Unfortunately, there is an element that is within the Radical Economic Transformation Unit that is linked with ex-President Jacob Zuma. And these are all actually patronage networks. When I say patronage networks, I mean they benefit financially from having certain people in power. So if that particular person or from people who have access to state resources, so if those people are eliminated or they're removed or they're incarcerated, it threatens their pocket. And because it threatens their pocket, and these networks are so extensive in the South African state, which is essentially the ANC, because there's no direct division between state and party in South Africa. The state is the ANC and the ANC is the state. we see that these people who now feel that their, luxury, their lifestyles, and even their income is going to be threatened, are willing. They are willing to sacrifice the country just to continue their own benefits. And this is disgusting because it's putting self-interest and greed above the entire state. When the masses are suffering, we know South Africa's unemployment is at the max as a high. Our GDP has been retracting. There's the huge inequality. I mean, we're one of the most unequal societies in the world, but they don't give a damn about this. All they care about is lining their pockets. So they will use any fissure, any fault line, any situation in order to fuel the tension, to detract from what they're doing so that they can foment chaos. And when they foment chaos, they destabilize the regime. And then a hero emerges, and that hero is whoever they want, whether it will be Ace or Deputy President Didi. They will say, oh no, this person can bring stability to the country. This person can, restore the economy. This person can bring confidence. This person, this person, this person. And so then you champion a very corrupt individual to take over. And Julie, before I give you a chance, I just want to add one thing. I've been thinking about this yesterday. And that is our deputy president is missing in action. He's been missing in action for a long time. But if you remember clearly, when Ramaphosa was, in the verge of losing to be chosen as the ANC president, it was a compromise with DD that he would make him his deputy president. And then only, was Ramaphosa given the go-ahead. So the question is Didi really sick? I know people will fire me for this and put me in front of a firing squad, but is he really sick, or was he conveniently moved out at a very convenient time while this plot was being initiated and investigated? And perhaps bring him back then to be the hero who will save the country, because if Ramaphosa is forced to step down, the deputy president comes into power. So these are things we need to think about.
Okay, we know that there are deep, deep fractures within the ANC. We also know, as you very succinctly put it, about the third force back in the day, 1949. That third force, whether it's now being driven by white supremacists or other interested parties, is very much alive. And that third force is creating a lot of problems in the country. You talk about the deputy president, but there's also somebody else who has his eye very firmly set on the seat of the president, and that is none other than Julius Malema. He has his eyes firmly set, and obviously that brings us to the question of the protest action as well, which initially, after it broke out, everybody was saying and suggesting it's because we're living in such an unequal society. A hungry man is an angry man. So that was the excuse. Yes, that's a very, very big part of why the riots happened. But a very hungry man is very, very easily influenced. So people who have their own agendas are fanning these flames. What do we do to stop it? In your article, you also quote analyst Peter Swanepoel, who says on politicsweb.coza, the violence was initially limited to destruction of property and looting, which subdued after a few hours of rioting. There was an organized element to the riots within the Zulu community, and the talk was that the time had come to rid the country of Indians. Now, I've thrown quite a few questions at you, so you can take them in whichever order you'd like to respond.
Okay, so first, my strongest argument was...
Okay, I can't hear you. Sorry, will you just check your mic, please?
No, my mic
I don't get any sound from you.
Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
Okay, let's just take a short break at this very crucial juncture in this interview with the amazing Quraysha Ismail. We've just lost sound there.
Hello?
Let's see if we can get it back. Do you just want to test that, please, Quraysha?
Hello, can you hear me, Julie?
Nope.
Oh.
I wonder if there's a third force trying to mute you. All right, we'll take a short ad break. We'll try and get back to you in a minute or two. We are talking to Quraysha Sooliman, but we've just lost audio there with her. So let's see if we can try and reconnect with Quraysha Sooliman. Let's take a quick ad break.
Testing. Hello, can you hear me?
Okay, right. We've got you back online.
Okay, great. Alhamdulillah. Maybe the good will prevail in this. Okay, so
Alhamdulillah.
my greatest argument, and Julie, as you as an activist as well will agree, when you go out into South Africa and you do aid work amongst the people, there's very particular characteristics about the people in South Africa. You can see it. They have a tremendous resilience, they have fortitude, they have patience, they have gratitude, and they have a huge amount of self-dignity. They don't just simply, go ahead. Even when you are handing out parcels, you see how they wait. They'll patiently wait in a queue to take the food, even though they're starving. Even the children manifest this behavior. And you saw it again in the video images where the old granny when she was arrested, and strangely enough, they went for the soft targets in the arrest as well. They didn't go for the real instigators and the looters. They targeted the genuine poor, the impoverished. She said, "I'm sorry, I know this is wrong, but I was so desperate." The little boy who took only the clothes he needed from Pep store, not a gorging on or feasting on this self-entitlement mentality. So my argument here is that if you look at the poor in South Africa, they have a dignity, and what we saw happening in Durban did not represent that dignity. This was individuals who have been told that looting is justified, that they have a reason, that they have a right to take what they want to take, because the Indians and the whites and white monopoly capital have been exploiting them and have denied them, etc. There's no mention of the fact that it was Jacob Zuma's state and the ANC, for 27 years to impoverish them further. So you find everybody to blame but yourself, or those who are feeding you. Basically, you don't want to cut off the hand that feeds you, so you deflect. And so this fomenting of this, the inequalities in the society, it's a psychological warfare. They're actually playing into the minds of people. I believe that the majority of the looters basically have economic benefit from the Zuma party and the RATs, and they're hoping to bring them back into power. And there's a small percentage of those who came much later, not the initiators, not the initial looters, not those who broke into the stores, not those who burnt the stores, who are watching and saying, people are taking, there's no police, let me also go and take. And if you see, it is these same people who came last are the ones who are being attacked, who are being handled by the police. The police have gone into the shacks, etc. But these are the small amounts. They need to go into the suburbs where you saw the fancy cars, the big vans, etc., coming to take the stuff. People were looting, and people from the middle class and from the upper class. And these are individuals who have been indoctrinated into believing that they're entitled to take what they want, that looting is justified because these people have stolen from the country, we need to steal it back. So there are very many elements that are at play here. I refuse to believe the narrative that this was a social justice cause. This was not a social justice cause. This was political insurgency between the factions in the ANC, and they're playing and exacerbating the issues of poverty and inequality.
Okay, Quraysha, we have run out of time, unfortunately. Just very, very briefly, your take on Malema and the incitement the division that is causing between Indians and blacks.
Malema is a problematic individual, and I've written about this previously also 2 years ago when he said the majority of Indians are racist. He's a populist. He looks to maximize his gain in any situation possible. He's no political integrity. He's not an ethical individual, and one has to be wary of him. Very important is that everybody should not amplify his voice. Don't give him airtime. Don't give him social media time. Don't give him any time. Basically, don't listen to him. Focus on the good voices in South Africa. This country has tremendous amount of good voices. Look at civil society. Look at how civil society came together to continue the food chain, to alleviate food insecurity in South Africa when the state failed.
Absolutely.
Now to the riots. Focus on the good stories.
What a pleasure talking with you. Wish I had more time to talk, but we will hook up again sometime soon. Go well. Assalamu alaikum to you.
Walaikum salam and jazakallah, Julie.
That was Quraysha Ismail Sooliman talking to us about, obviously, the crazy situation we found ourselves in 2 weeks ago. 9:31 exactly. When we get back, we will be talking with Dr. Sooliman. I think we're going to be looking at a COVID story, so do stay with us.